Hello, my name is Nyree and I'm running an adoption support channel for potential new and experienced adopters all across the world, and I have 2 adopted sons myself. So today we're going to be talking about how it feels when the dust settles. So about 6 months into the adoption, how does it feel and what are going to be the positives and negatives that you may well be experiencing at that time? Because I think there's a mad rush of adrenaline when we first adopt, and there's lots and lots of support and advice and lots of people going through a similar process to yourself. But once the 6 months kicks in, what does adoption actually look like for most of us? So hopefully you're experiencing lots of positives now that you've adopted your child, and the main one I think is going to be that as an adoptee you're going to be feeling a lot more confident than you were before and more sure of your decision making, which is brilliant. So the other positives will be that your child knows your routine and knows a little bit about your close family and friends. They've got their own group of friends as well, which eases them a lot more into the family. You're beginning to understand what their favourite food and toys are, and you're able to accommodate that into their routine. Beginning to see any fears or phobias that are continually happening and beginning to understand what those triggers are so you can avoid them. You're probably going to have established some close contacts to support you now that you're an adopter, and people that you can genuinely talk to. Most importantly, the bond for your child is probably beginning to deepen and your love is beginning to grow, because in the beginning it is just a brand new situation, and some people feel an immediate rush for their adopted children, but some people don't. Some people have to work quite hard at it, and you're probably beginning to feel that sense of connection with your child much more greatly than you were at the beginning. So those are all the positive things, and for some people adoption is straightforward, but there are some of us, and myself included, that struggle at times, and I think it's really important to share that information with all adoptive families so they know they're not alone, and that helps them to overcome so many of their issues. So some of the negatives might be that the reality of how hard this actually can be is hitting home, because especially if you've not ever had a child in the house, just the sheer physicality of looking after a young child is quite exhausting. Can be some periods of lowness and depression post-adoption. This is actually quite common, that adopters can feel quite down, and I think this is because all of the adrenaline that you had to get you through the process and the excitement of having a new child has now passed, and it could well be that you find that the support is not what you thought it would be. You don't seem to be able to tap into real support around particularly challenging behaviour, or just having regular babysitters who are reliable. Again, unfortunately this can be quite common, but if you hear it from me and you know this can be quite common, maybe you can make strides to try to put some of those things right. Tiredness can really creep in months down the line. If you've adopted a toddler and this toddler doesn't sleep very well, or even an older child, then this is when tiredness really takes hold, and it's really so important at this point to try and think about how you're going to take some breaks. Also, you may find that some of the behaviours that you thought might just go because you adopted and the foster carer was telling you about are still there, and actually you're not able to put those things right, and that can get you down as well, because many adopters think that love is enough, and when they have a child in, they're going to be able to overcome many of those insecure behaviours and attachment style behaviours. But actually you may be realising now, 6 months down the line, that many of those behaviours are still there and are maybe likely to remain. You may therefore find that additional therapy is going to be needed, and what you're doing as an adopter isn't just going to be enough, and so you're thinking about how you can seek out extra support and therapy, and that can be a little bit stressful because you may have to tap into some funds for this, or you may have to pay for it for yourself, and trying to find a reliable organisation and therapist to help you through the process that you need to go through with your adopted child could be challenging. Work commitments or financial commitments could get on top of you at this point. You may have to seek to go back to work, or you may have gone back to work, and the pressure of work and earning enough money to support your adoptive family also could be a negative pressure. And now I'm just going to give you some tips to help support you, because there's no point in me doing a video laying all these things out if I don't say to you some of the things that have helped me along the way. Regular breaks away from the child are essential. They're non-negotiable. However much you may love your child and however much you feel they need you, it's so crucial that you have regular breaks away. Now, how often that needs to be will be down to your family and how difficult some of these behaviours are with your child. But even if the behaviours aren't difficult, find a way to take regular breaks away from everything. Discussing these ingrained behaviours that you are beginning to see are a pattern with a professional is also crucial, because you may feel it's something that you're doing, or you may feel that's something that you should be able to put right, but a professional will be able to take you through what some of the common behaviours are, particularly for insecure attachment. I have a whole playlist on my channel about bonding and attachment that you may find interesting. You may be finding at this stage that you think there may be developmental problems that are raising themselves, and this may not have been pointed out to you during the adoption process, or it might have been, but you're becoming more concerned that some of those issues need to be addressed. And again, if you can get to a professional that you can talk through development issues, then this is going to make you feel so much better than holding it to yourself. Try not to get involved with too many activities and have too complex a routine, even 6 months in, because your child still very much is settling. It may feel to you like a million years ago that you adopted your child 6 months in, but actually it's still a relatively early stage. For many of us that have fostered or adopted for longer periods of time, we will say to you that around about 2 years you start to feel that you really do know your child and you really do understand a lot more around what you and your child are going to need, or your family are going to need. So try not to jam pack the time with too many things as you're still building your attachment with your adopted child. If you think actually that the way you're feeling at the moment is more than just a little bit down and tired, that you're becoming quite depressed, it's important early on for you to seek that medical attention, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm sure many adopters out there have experienced those post-adoption blues, which is something that even families that haven't adopted, that have biological children, can go through. So there's no reason why an adopted family won't go through this. If you think a channel where I go through my experiences and give you support, tips and advice around everything from before you have the child to the things that you might experience later down the line could be useful to you, then please just take the time to subscribe, and then you will know when I'm bringing out all of my videos.